Welcome back. It's Chris and Matt and episode 82 of Sketching Up. Thank you for joining us for another episode of Sketching Up. It's going to be a great episode. Before we get to that, though, let's talk a little bit about the other shows on Schnabel Studios because we've had a couple of new episodes of things come out. First, we had a new episode of Mad Props. I had Chloe King on the episode. She is a locksmith from Milwaukee. Interesting. Not the usual things you get on that, but very interesting episode. Definitely go check that out if you haven't. That is on Mad Props. Search Mad Props anywhere you get your podcast or on YouTube, and you can find that. There will also be a new doodle, as on a recent episode of Mad Props, we had Jason Page. We're going to go visit him at the Cards and Collectibles Festival in Mohegan Sun in Connecticut. So you can check that out. That'll be out. By the time you hear this episode, that'll be out. So check out that doodle as well. Maybe the day after that, actually. Let's say the day after to be safe. So the day after this, come back to Schnabel Studios on YouTube, and you can find the doodle where we go to, it's called E3 or EC3 or something like that in Connecticut. So definitely go check that out as well. You can follow Schnabel Studios anywhere, Facebook, Twitter, Instagram, TikTok, LinkedIn, YouTube. What else? Should we just start making some stuff up? You can follow us everywhere you go to social media, and you can see things. We've been posting a lot more, so you can see a lot of stuff going on. You catch up with things that you haven't seen yet. And you can also find the links to all of the podcasts that you want to find. You can also search Schnabel Studios anywhere you get your podcast. And guess what? You'll find Mad Props. You'll find Sketching Up. You'll find Offstage. You'll find all that stuff right there. Just all you have to do is search Schnabel Studios. It falls under the same umbrella. So that's where you can get all that. Ad read's over. Coming up on this episode, we're going to talk a little bit about the Zeb Wells run of Spider-Man because there's been some big news with that. But the bulk of this episode is going to be talking about DC and all the new stuff coming up. Because guess what? This week, Flash is coming out. Already. June is such a stacked month for movies. It's such a stacked month.
So stacked.
So many good movies coming out.
This is so great. This is a great month. It's our birthday months. By the way.
That's true.
So, that makes it 10 times better. Come on.
Yeah.
I'm so excited. I get to see Flash the night of my birthday.
That's unreal. That's kind of like I didn't get to see Spider-Man the night of my birthday, which obviously was last week based on the last episode. But I did get to see it the weekend of my birthday. I saw it actually on Thursday, so it wasn't even the weekend technically yet. But I mean, for it to come out the same week for me is huge because I'm a big Spider-Man fan. And also, we said this before, but sorry, Mario Brothers movie for getting absolutely demolished in the animation game of 2023. It's so upsetting. But you can hear more about that on last week's 81 Spider-Man episode. But this is number 82.
It had the crown.
It had the crown for like 8 seconds.
To bow and give the crown away.
Yeah, for like 8 seconds had the crown. But that's all coming up here on Sketching Up, so stay tuned. Stay right here for after the opening. We'll be right there. So episode 82 of Sketching Up, we are creeping closer to that big 100. I'm going to say that on every episode until we get to 100, just because it's so crazy that we're almost there. You know what we have to do, honestly? We have to look at the calendar and see which week we're going to hit 100. Yeah. Because we should know off the top of our heads when 100's hitting. It's such a big milestone to reach 100 episodes of your show that we should know that we're coming up on it. I have no idea what day that's going to be. It's, mid-June now. I would say probably the end of this year, right? 20 episodes, 20 weeks. We're weekly, so it's 20 weeks. Give or take, a week here or there that something happens. Anyway, we'll figure that out for next episode or something. But this episode, we're going to talk a little bit about Spider-Man, the Zeb Wells run, which has been going on for a little bit now. Most fans have said it's very disappointing. I'll give my personal opinion on it. I'm going to talk a little bit about it. Matt's going to ask some questions about it. And to be honest with you, we're going to talk a little bit about it. I'm caught up in the sense of I know what happens. I'm not caught up in the sense of I've read to issue 25 or 26. Yeah. But we're going to talk a little bit about what happened and why it's causing such a big buzz. for anybody that wants to read this Amazing Spider-Man run, this is going to spoil it. So definitely push this off a little bit, go read it, or just skip ahead until we start talking about DC, because it's going to be spoiled right here. So right now, the big news in Marvel Comics, it's making honestly news in all comics, is that Miss Marvel has died in the latest episode of The Amazing Spider-Man. And this is a canon death. This is a canon death. Yes. Well, done or dirty for now. I mean, I'll talk about that in a second. But this is a canon event that's happening here, and this is apparently something that's really going to have messed him up. We don't know. I got to read it still to know if this is for fact, but I don't think this is the event that happens in the beginning of the series so far. But that could be like wrong.
I don't know. It
Honestly,
seems like there's a bigger thing that happens, and this one's just a very big monumental piece of it.
Yeah, this is definitely this has definitely been shown as like a monumental piece of what's going on. So you know what we're gonna do really quick? This is totally taking a left turn. But what if we look really quick and see? Just give me a second, because I have a couple comics here. So I gotta find which issue it is. 21, 23. That's 13. We're going backwards now. But what if I grab it really quick and we can look and see if it was at least we can see if it's a monumental event, because I feel like if we're going to talk about it, we need to know if it's the monumental event that happens. This is 24. Holy cow. How many comics do I have here? Some more. All right. Doctor Strange, Flashpoint. So if you're looking, I've just gotten all my comics recently, and I'm so behind. I'm so incredibly far behind. It's
this is very disappointing.
I know. You see all these that I'm behind on?
Yeah,
I'm not behind. By the way, I'm not behind on all of these.
I'm going to tell you right now, you're giving me anxiety because all my comics are organized. It's the same thing for me where in my wallet, I have to have, $1 bills on the top, and then they go bigger, but they're all facing the same way and everything.
Okay.
Same thing with my comics. I need them to be in order, facing the same way, in the right area. What you're doing right now?
No, hold on. Before you go off on your rant, they usually are in order. They're in here in order. The reason these are out of order is because I picked them up and they're not even bagged yet.
And Schnabs, don't use a paper box for them. Go out, get yourself a nice comic book protector. I have them. I can go run and get mine, and you'll see these things are tough, and they support them, and they keep them nice and cozy. You have them in a paper freaking box.
That's because I just take them out and read them constantly. That's fine. I take them out and read them constantly, so I don't really mind that.
The boxes that I have, I could just pop them open and read them constantly.
I know which ones you're talking about. I've never gotten one. It's because of all the travel that I've done with them. But I should go get one.
They're perfect for travel because I stack them in whatever I am. They connect. Mine connect, so they snap into place.
You're talking about the plastic ones. Oh,
yeah.
Should invest in that.
And I snap
I
those in
was going to buy those.
And I have the little dividers that I have. They come with strips that you can do. Like I put Batman, whatever arc it is, and then it goes down the line, and it shows me the year, and I put the from issue 13 to issue 20.
I'll do that for you. Well, for me too, but I'll do it for you.
But do it for yourself. Do it for yourself, man, because I think you'll be a lot happier. You'll make me happy. I won't be sweating as much as I am right now after watching what I just watched, because I'm a pool of sweat. You just gave me I was on the verge of an anxiety attack from that. I'm tell you that. My cat sees that I'm bothered. My cat Nora, by the way, named after Barry Allen's mother, because I got her when the season 1 of Flash came out.
I'm listening. I'm trying to see if this is the event. So it is confirmed that it is not the event from the beginning of the thing.
Is that confirmed kill? Is that confirmed?
It
Is
is.
that
It is
confirmed kill?
confirmed. It is confirmed. First of all, how Dicko and Stan Lee era is this cover? It says
It
at the
is.
bottom, "One shall fall." With Spider-Man
Yeah.
and all the different characters on here, and like all the
Yep.
important ones, obviously at the top, like J. Jonah Jameson and Mary Jane, Black Cat, and then Miss Marvel's right here behind behind Spidey. so we can get back into that. First of all, just skimming through that, I didn't read any of it, but I skimmed through to see. It looks like it's a really good issue. It looks like
All
it's a
right.
really good issue. So I'm gonna have to get back into reading all that. But anyway, other than my mess that's going on, so it is not the thing we saw in the very beginning from what we can see. That there, because the issues start with this one catastrophic event that
Mhm.
kind of changes Peter Parker.
Right.
So it is not that, and Miss Marvel passes away. Yep, she passes away, and I can even show you if you want to see the page
Yeah.
or
Show
no.
me the page. Show it to me. Show it to me.
There you go.
Tease it a little bit.
There's the teaser of the page.
You got some Fantastic Four back there.
Yeah.
You got.
I move it
see, that's
closer, but it goes out of.
MJ.
Is it still in focus?
No, it's still in focus. It's fine.
Okay.
We got MJ back there. Who's the one? Is that the new boyfriend slash husband who's hugging Mary
I
Jane?
believe so. And then it looks like I haven't really read it, so I don't know, but it looks like the last one there is the new what is it? Not Mr. Marvel. The Marvelous or something like that. The really old character that they just brought back in comics.
Oh,
You know what I'm
yeah.
talking
Okay.
about? Yeah.
Yeah,
Kind
yeah.
of looks like that character. I don't remember exactly what his name is, but so I apologize for that. But anyway, so that's what the big news has been about. Off air, we decided to talk about this on air because off air we were talking about how, like, you were saying you've heard that the run hasn't had any big like stories or anything like that, and I was telling you that it's not that it hasn't had big stories, it's kind of swung and missed on all of them so far. For people that
Right.
don't know, Zeb Wells, I like Zeb Wells a lot. Zeb Wells is one of the original guys from Robot Chicken. That's what he's known for.
Yep.
And now he does Spider-Man comics. He's done other ones too. He's done a bunch of. He obviously didn't just start with Spider-Man. That's not how that works. You don't just start with Batman.
He did some Plastic Man.
Yeah. You start with the other characters, and you kind of build your way up with stories and stuff like that. And he
did some
has
DC
now
work.
picked up this one. So but he's done a lot of different things. Like there's a story arc with Norman Osborn where Norman's like building his suits for him, and then there's like you were saying, the husband of Mary Jane.
I want to get into that a little bit because I feel like the Mary Jane stuff, there's always a little conflict going on with Peter and MJ. That's
like the whole thing.
That's one of the things, they always have issues. And in my mind, that's a common issue for a lot of superheroes. How do you keep a strong relationship with someone when you're running out into battle every day, battling these super villains, like doing team ups, all that. That's fine. The Norman Osborn thing for me is a little hard pill to swallow because Norman always has an agenda. He always has. That's how they wrote him. He is a guy who always has an agenda and will always do that. And to see him working with Peter, which is a weird / cool twist, I just don't understand the reasoning to bring him into that fold.
I don't totally remember if he betrayed him at some point, but the big thing was Peter always thought he was going to be betrayed by Norman. Like that was the whole thing.
Right.
Like he was like, I'm going to be betrayed. I'm going to be betrayed. And there was one where I don't know if this was betrayal or not. Maybe it was one. It's been a while since I've picked up these comics. because like I said, the storylines were kind of swinging and missing. So like I continue to get them because I love Spider-Man. I'm glad I did because now I have this issue that, you know, you can. I
Yeah.
went to comic book shops. It's not on the shelves. Like it flew off the
Yeah.
shelves like that
Flew
because
off the
it's such a
shelves.
big
Yep.
thing. Um, so I'm glad I stuck with it because of something like this. And you know, Spider-Man's always going to have that. You know, Spider-Man's always going to have. It may be swinging and missing, but there's so many ways you could take them. And if you're swinging and missing, you know something big's coming. But anyway, besides the point, there was one where he was fighting. I want to say it was Tombstone. Might have been a different one. Again, it's been a
No,
minute
it
since.
was Tombstone was a big character in
Yeah,
this
he was, but he was in the
story so far.
beginning. But I don't remember if this was
Yeah.
still while he was fighting Tombstone or if he's moved on to a different character at this point. But so he needed a suit from Norman because he was getting the snot beat out of him, and Norman refused to send him a suit. And he's like, "What do you mean? Like, I need this suit?" And he's like, "No, I'm not sending it to you." I don't remember what happened. Maybe that might be where I left off, honestly, because I don't remember what happens next. But so there was a point where, like, even though they were working together and he made a suit for him after he needed another one, Norman refused to give it to him, and kind of left him on his own out there. So even though, yes, they were working together, there was also betrayal. And honestly, in the coming weeks, when I catch up, because now that I'm a little more settled down and have more time, that's one I'm going to catch up on is the Spider-Mans, especially now that I know this happens and I can see how it builds up to this now. We could talk more about that. But
Right.
um, there was, you know, it was weird to see them working together for so long. And there was a Green Goblin came back at some point, but it wasn't Norman because Norman was working with Peter. It was someone else, and that was kind of
Hmm.
strange. And then there's a Black Cat um, arc as well, where they hook up for a minute. But that happens all the time. But it's not like one of those where he's like dating Mary Jane and then she's not like dating Mary Jane and then Black Cat comes in to try to steal him under. And no, it was just a quickie, quick in and out, you know, for Black Cat with nothing in between there. So, and also, I know
And she's one of
Spider,
the people who's mad at him, right? She's one of the people
yes,
who's upset with him. Yeah.
yes, but I think that happens after the fact. And then also like he's like they overplay the down on his luck a little bit. I know like Spider-Man, like one thing about Spider-Man that's crazy is like the first time he has a happy ending in the original run is like issue 150. So
Yeah.
before that, the issue always ends with something bad happening to Peter. Like every single issue up to, I think it's 150 or 137. It's over 100 issues though before there's a happy ending in a Spider-Man comic, which is unreal. So
Right.
but they play the down on his luck pretty hard, especially in the very beginning. Like he's not paying his bills, he doesn't talk to his friends. Like it's just it's tough. It's tough. They played him a little too down and out, which is a little like
Yeah.
a little
But
tough.
after watching, Across the Spider Verse, or it's it makes sense because we get taught, that's the life of Spider Man.
Yeah,
Spider
yeah, yeah.
Man is.
But they're like
Are
it's
they
not just
really just
one
bringing
thing.
him
They
down?
just everything is bad. Like his relationship with Aunt May is bad. Mary Jane's gone. He's like not good at it. He's not good with his job. He's not paying his bills. He's behind on this. This person's after him. Like everything is like just pile and pile and pile. And usually, like in the original ones, it'd always be like, you know, he's talking to XYZ, one of the girls in the beginning, and he has to be Spider-Man and Aunt May is sick. Like, you know, like, so there is but like they just took all of the original tropes, threw them into a pot and said, here's the new one. He has everything. So it was
Yeah.
a little overbearing of how down and out they made him. But, and that was another reason you're sitting there like, damn, like, I mean, I get he's Spider-Man, but give me a break. Like
Yeah.
everything's happening to him right now.
I I think, like, I get the tragic hero trope, but like, to pile on as thick as you're saying, it's like, what were the writers thinking? Like, what was their agenda for just piling on Pete's life that's already written as a hard life? Like, why just throw all of this into him? What do you
Well,
think that's?
don't forget everyone's mad at him already because of this event that they haven't talked about yet. So like on
Right.
top of all this stuff they're writing on top of him, so the reason behind the writing is one, he always has to be down and out, but two, he was gone for I think it was 6 months. So like he's behind on the rent, and his friends don't talk. All that stuff is because he's so far behind in life because he was gone for a while, and now he's coming back into it. So that's the reasoning behind why he's so down and out. But it's like
So where
you can
was he
have the
before
one
this?
with the other. This is what we're trying to. This is what they haven't
So
said
all
yet.
right. So yeah. So this is we don't know where he was for 6 months. Is that the
So
case?
kind of. Hold on. I'll show you
Because
in a
I
second.
remember reading up about this and knowing that he went after Mary Jane, who was sent to another dimension.
I believe that's the last run. Maybe that is this run.
That and
Again, I
he's been
can't.
working to find her and get back to her. And like he was gone for 6 months, but she wherever she was, it was a longer period of time.
So this is how it starts.
Jesus.
And then
Okay.
they've yet to readdress that from there.
Okay.
So we don't know what any of this was, but all the people that are upset with him are from that event. But they still haven't really said what the event is. And again, for people that might be listening and are caught up, they may have
So
said it and I just wasn't with it yet. But
so what from what that panel of the first start of this Spider-Man run, and then from what you just showed me with Miss Marvel's death, it seems like that Miss Marvel's death is a piece of this, because if you look at what they drew and how he was there, it looks completely different. Like he's alone
yeah.
in the first. Here he's with people. So
Yeah.
whatever happened, this may be the trigger point. Now, this may
Well,
be
but
what they were trying to do.
it said 6 months later, not earlier. So this is after whatever happened.
Yeah. So what I'm saying is, this may be whatever happened in 6 months ago. This may be the catalyst. This may be the ending arc. Like Miss
Oh
Marvel
yeah,
dies.
yeah, yeah, yeah. Yeah.
So we don't know what led up to her death
We're about to find
or
out.
what Peter has done, but we've seen all the nuances of what's going on in Pete's life.
Yeah.
That's probably why they stretched it out so long. They just didn't want to just jump into Miss Marvel's death. Now we're going to see why he looked like that 6 months ago, what happened, and maybe that was the reason when he's screaming out, no, he is seeing what's going to happen. What do you think?
It's a good prediction. We'll definitely have to keep in the loop. Maybe I'll catch up on it, and we could do like every month or every 2 months. We could do a little recap of what's going on from there, because
I
it's
would.
not that it's not an interesting run. It's just
Mm-hmm.
that they've tried a couple big things and they haven't landed. That's the thing.
So,
Like the run
what?
itself is not boring by any means.
Mhm.
I don't think so, at least. But I do love Spider-Man.
So,
I'm very biased.
what do you think in your mind was the one thing that they tried to do that just didn't hit for you? Like the top thing. Like you've read so much. What is one of the top things that they tried to do that it just didn't pan out for you?
I just think I don't even think there's one event. I think it kind of all leads back to what I said of how down and out they make them. Because don't, like I said, don't forget, like they do the tropes that they always have, and they pile a couple things on top of it. And on top of all that, everyone's mad at him for this huge event that happened. So like you're talking about like 5,000 things. Like Aunt May doesn't want to talk to him. Like
Right.
like that's how in the beginning you see a conversation and she's mad at him, and it's like, so everyone hates him. Like even in the old comics, Aunt May never hated him. She hated Spider-Man, but she never hated Peter. And this one, she doesn't like Peter. Mary Jane's married to someone else, doesn't like Peter. Like Black Cat is mad at Peter. Like everyone's mad at him, on
Yeah.
top of everybody hating Spider-Man, on top of him being broke, and on top of him being behind on bills, on top of him not having a place to live, on top of his friends not talking to him, like, just keeps piling on. And then they do it again, and then every Spider-Man has to end in tragedy or in sadness. So all the issues end with another thing, and it's like you're just piling on some more. And then when they try to make these big, like in the original runs, the reason they're so known, other than Spider-Man's such a big character now, is because these villains would be on for one issue and then become like staples. And now,
Right.
obviously, you don't really see new villains anymore because it's all about rinse and repeat. But when they bring in these villains, they just don't, you don't care to see them again, or they don't stick as well. And it's just like, like I can
Now
be on to the next one.
I'm on the outside of this, so I haven't read a thing about this. I do love Spider-Man. I don't keep up with Marvel as much as I do DC in the comic book
Yep.
sense. But the way that you've been explaining this and then piling on, it's an eerie feeling of this is what you hear about when they create villains, where villains are at a point where they are so broken that they get piled on. You talk about any villain throughout any comic, you hear all the horrible crap that they've been through in their lives, and it just doesn't stop. It doesn't stop. It doesn't stop. Now, this is not me saying, oh, they're going to make Spider-Man a villain. No, this is not what I'm saying. I'm saying that this has an essence of how you create a villain. Now, it may not be Peter and Spider-Man becoming the villain, but in some way, this sounds like they are trying to create something so bad for Spider-Man that what else does he have? What else does he do? And I'm not saying at all that like, yep, he's going to turn to crime. No. I think that we have to get to a point where, we've seen it. We've seen Superman turn into a huge villain in the Injustice era. You have anti-heroes like Punisher out there who just ended a run. You have characters that at a certain point they get piled on too much where they can't take. And like you said, the biggest one that kind of popped out at me was that Aunt May wasn't talking to Peter anymore.
Yeah.
And Aunt May is Peter's rock. Like that's his home. That's his home. That's where even if Aunt May doesn't like Spider-Man, he can walk through that door as Peter Parker and be okay. And
know
fine.
that he's going to go broke because Aunt May needs something.
Yes. but my thing is, it's like, if he doesn't have anywhere to turn, how can you not see a person like that change their whole persona, change their whole way of living after?
Yeah.
If everyone's mad at him, if everybody who he trusted, who he has close confidants with people who he's just loved throughout his life are kind of throwing him shade, turning their back on him, being upset with him. Now, we've had it in earlier Spider-Man comics that I have read that, yeah, Peter's friends get mad at him all the time. They always do. It's Peter. He's not a perfect human being. He's like an imperfect person who got superpowers, and now he has to try to balance everything out. But now that all of that's being cut out, it's really anyone's game at this point. And Peter, if he's written the way that Peter Parker's always written, there has to be a breaking point for a person like that. It doesn't matter if he's a fictional character, if he's a real person. There is a breaking point you have to have with someone.
Yeah.
And I don't think it's throwing away the spider suit. I don't think it's any of that. I think he's going to evolve into something else through this.
And we're just waiting to see what it is.
And we're just waiting to see what it is. And, that made me hyped for it. So, yeah.
Well, I'll continue the run, and I'll let you know if like the issues that I'm behind on, it gets a little better. And then I'll tell you if you should jump on the train or just wait to hear what goes on. But this is the Zeb Wells run of Spider-Man that we're talking about. One last thing, and then we'll move on. Also, there was one thing where he was like getting beaten senseless, and at the end of the issue, it's like a cliffhanger. Will he survive? And then like the very beginning of the next issue, he just like kind of survives. Like, he's like, oh, I could just do this, and he survives, or someone saves him or something like that. And you're like, this is so 1960s. Well, if Electro, I can't touch him. What if I put on these rubber gloves? Like, just because in Spider-Man's first battle with Electro, that's how he beats him. He puts on electric gloves, and it's like, wow, that's the easiest thing you could have ever done. Like, why is it in the beginning? It's like the toughest villain. The Stan Lee. He always did that kind of stuff. Like, this is the toughest villain. Does he survive? And it's like, you acted like he's gonna die. He put on some rubber gloves and he won. Like, what are we doing? Yeah. But it was almost like the rubber glove situation here as well. Like, it's that's how. That's, by the way, from now on, when that happens, we should call it rubber gloves. Like, that's the rubber gloves moment.
Rubber glove moment. Yep. And there's a lot of them, and I think that's a way of pushing for more issues and stuff like that, but there has to be better writing than that.
Yeah, it has to be better than that.
It has to be better, especially with such an iconic character of Spider-Man. Like, look, if it's a new character, if it's a new superhero, like, yeah, you can run with that. But with Spider-Man and his long tenure of being a comic book hero, he deserves better than that. Like, you could easily finish that off and then just kept going in the story in that issue. Like, you didn't have to wait until the next issue to know that he was going to survive, because obviously in the first issue you see 6 months later, like, you see him, he's okay. He's like, he's fine. He's not going to die. Like, we know that. Like, he's not going to get beat. Like, come on. We can be better.
Yeah. So if you want to read the Zeb Wells run, it's now coming out on paperback and stuff like that, so you can read it in the thick boys. You can read it in the thick boys. The first 26, I'm sure the first 26 will be its own thing.
Yeah,
you know what I mean? So you can read that, or you could listen to us talk about it every 6 months, which we've done. I think we talked about it when it first came out. Yep. We've talked about issue 26.
Yep, we have.
We'll see it at issue 50.
Yeah.
We'll see it at issue 50.
That issue 50 will be our 100th episode.
Yeah, probably. But let's talk about what seems to be good writing, and that is the new Flash movie, which so far comes out this week. So far has gotten rave reviews from critics. Now, of course, that doesn't always mean much, because we've heard rave reviews for a lot of the Marvel movies. Like, Eternals got rave reviews, and I don't know who reviewed it, but it got rave reviews.
That was
rough. So
I never look into reviews. I look into more. I look
the
at
audience score is the way to go. The audience score is the way to go.
The audience score, and looking into, like, when I see writers who do a review who are in the comic book world, like anybody who's on like Screen Rant, comicbook.com, I'll read their stuff and take their advice more than I would from what I see posted online from people and stuff like that. And look, I'm very excited for the Flash. I cannot wait for the Flash. Like, I have all my expectations are really in the wind for it, because I'm looking at it as a movie that's going to restart the whole DCEU. And I want it to just be whatever it is, whatever Andy Muschietti did with it. Beautiful. It looks beautiful. It looks shot great. I think bringing in Michael Keaton as an older Batman, who Michael Keaton is not a young guy, and putting him into this position, and it doesn't look bad. It looks like a seasoned, a very, weathered Batman how he's supposed to, and that's what I like to see. You know, they came out with a clip probably a week ago, and it was Barry explaining to Michael Keaton's Batman who Superman is, like explaining that he has super strength, he has heat vision, and all of that, and Michael Keaton's like, no, but he does say something interesting in that clip. He goes, Gotham's been one of the safest cities in the past 30 years. And looking at his how they have him, he has really long hair, he has a huge beard, he lives in the manor alone. You could see that he was the perfect pick for this because he looks weathered. He looks like he put in that work for
Yeah.
30 years. He did what he could after, you know, and you think about the movies that predated it. You know, you look at the first Batman with Jack Nicholson and how he was getting shot at by cops, he was getting chased by cops, and he was going up against a madman that it was really breaking him. And then you go to Batman Returns where, you know, you first see him kind of questioning his, you know, choice of women for one, and then you see him having to take down a person who is trusted by the community, by Gotham itself. You know, Penguin pulled the sheet over Gotham's head and said, "Hey, I'm the savior of Gotham. I'm Gotham's golden boy. I should be the one that should help this city rejuvenize and everything." And he again, this Batman had the whole city against him after saving everyone in the first movie. So you could tell in this he is a very weathered Batman who looks, but also has a face on him like he's like, I did my job, I did it. You know, he's not an angry Batman. He's not angry at anything. He's not very you know, standoffish. He's just like, look, I did the job. I made Gotham safe, and it stayed like that. No one wants to, you know, he probably put the fear in Gotham where, into the criminals, like, you start, you know, stirring shit up in the city, you're going to get another Batman and he's going to take you down. So let's nip this in the butt now and not have this. Go somewhere else. Don't do this in Gotham. And so that's an interesting feel to the movie. And so I'm just very excited. I know that they're only doing, you know, one premiere, like the early release premiere, where they do the red carpet and everything. They're only doing one of those. So, and I heard that the reasoning for that is that the ending of the movie is a huge secret that Andy Muschietti is trying to keep under wraps.
Yeah, the new Batman comes in. They introduced the new DCU Batman.
I think we get introduced. You know, we before I say anything, we've heard Andy Muschietti praise Ariza Miller, and you know what? That's when I think about a director praising someone who has had the problems that Ariza has had. You know, stealing liquor in a Airbnb in Vermont, assaulting someone, all this. That's horrible.
The first one's almost like doesn't matter to the other stuff he's done, like the stuff in Hawaii that he did.
Yeah, and like kept someone. So yeah, but when I see him praise someone for their acting skills, it kind of reminds me of like when I played hockey and I had friends on the other team, and we said and did horrible shit to each other out on the ice. But then off the ice, we were best friends again. We were friends. This is kind of in the same vein of, look, Andy needed to direct someone who has some controversy and needed to pull the best Barry Allen out of this guy. Out of it. We need to see.
It's actually like the flip of what you just said.
Yeah.
Like, it'd be like if you hated each other off because this person's like does terrible things and you don't agree with it, but when you're on the ice, you have to win. You have to play together. That's all. It sounds more like that.
Yeah.
Like you have to get along with the person.
So yeah. So I think he praises him for his acting in this and bringing Barry Allen to life. And from what I've seen, yeah, he does a really good job. You know, it has the heart and soul of the Flash in it. You know, if you haven't read the Flash, it really, or even if you've watched the Grant Gustin Flash, you understand the connection that Barry has with his mother and why this all takes place. And from what I've seen, Ezra Miller, they have done a very good job at portraying Barry as, look, I just want to see my parents again. I just
Hmm.
want to I just want them back in my life because my life has been empty without them. I haven't had a great life since they left me, and I want to be able to save them. And you know, we hear the sound bites from it where he tells Ben Affleck's Batman, like, I can go back and save her. I can even go back and save your parents. And even
Hmm.
Batman's smart enough to say that's not a good idea because you could tear a hole in reality and really mess things up, which is which is from the Flashbook comic, you know, and even before the Flashpoint happened, Batman and Flash have talked about it where Batman said, Barry, you can't do that. Like, I want to see my parents more than anything. And that's a big trope with Batman. Like, wants to see his parents again. Like, he would give anything. But if it risks the lives around him, if it risks innocent lives, if it risks the world, it's not worth it. They
Hmm.
die, and you have to keep them there. And so I think that's something that Ariza they will portray very well. Like when he was first casted as a Flash, I was like, I don't know. And I think I was a little biased because I saw Grant Gustin before him, like play Barry, and I was like, holy
Hmm.
shit, that's Barry. That's Barry from the comic books. Like he did
Yeah.
a very good job at it. And Ariza, they didn't get their fair shot as playing the Flash, and I think this movie will give him that fair shot of playing this character. Like, I don't think any of the Justice League members from Zack Snyder's, except for Henry Cavill, got his fair. They got their fair shot.
And Henry Cavill got the shortest end of the stick at the end of it.
And you know, and you know, I from reading what I have been reading, it's not all his fault, and it's not all of Warner Brothers' fault. You know, there was a lot of manipulation on the Rock's part that really messed a lot of things up.
Yeah, I mean that was the big thing that came out of the end of Black Adam. I think was it
Mm-hmm.
was supposed to be Shazam that shows up, but The Rock said no. I need to go against Superman, and so Superman shows up at the end, which was like that was the big teaser right at the end. Like everyone's like that was the reason everyone wants to go see the movie. I could have told you that was going to happen when they said The Rock was playing Black Adam. Like you
Yeah,
knew he was going to pull something like that, but it was supposed to be Shazam, which then led into Shazam 2, or Shazam 2 would lead into Black Adam. I can't remember which direction it was supposed to go, but then The Rock was like, "No, it's Superman or nothing." And
yeah.
it's like, but that doesn't make sense with his story. And he's like, "I don't care." And
Yeah,
yeah,
it was this whole thing where he wanted like the two big, strong people of DC Comics going head to head and fighting each other, which is not
Shazam
a.
is also incredibly strong. He's like
But the
basically
thing,
Superman.
but the thing is that that's not that's not correct storytelling. That's not
Yeah,
like you can get there. You can 100% get there. They're all living in the same universe. They're all on the same world. They're on the Earth. You can get there, but it just doesn't happen because that's not how it happened in the comics. It
yeah.
was Billy Batson who recruited Superman to help him with Black Adam. Like it was it and it would have worked out great if they kept with that because, you know, at the big teaser at the end of the first Shazam was, you know, Billy reached out to
Superman.
Superman and brought him in and that would have been a better, you know, storyline than it was, oh, I just want to fight Superman. It's like we get it. You want to fight and go toe to toe and say like you went toe to toe with Superman as Black Adam. Like we get it, but like that's not a story to tell. Like that's just a fight. Like
Yeah.
like and from what I saw from the Black Adam movie, which the only good part out of the Black Adam movie for me was the Justice Society Everything else was trash. Like
Mm-hmm.
the like, and that's my point is that like your main villain in that movie, and you said that you had your creative hands in this, and you picked Sabak, this like D-list magical villain
Mm-hmm.
who's never really only seen a couple times in the comic. Like, if you want to do something like that, you put James Gunn at the head because he'll
Yeah.
do something with no name characters
And
and give
build
them
them.
and build them up. You don't just throw them in there and expect people to be like, "Oh, that was amazing." No, and his story wasn't even that good. Like it was, it didn't have the right like they added one of my big tropes was it when I first heard it was coming out and reading the synopsis was the gang that was like ruling over conduct was Intergang. Intergang hasn't been seen on screen before. No one really knows who they are. They're another kind of D-list group that hangs out, and like their claim to fame is that they start getting apocalypse tech from Darkseid, and that's how they start. Like that's how they were pretty much their gun runners. That's what they are, and like to bring them into the Black Adam story just didn't make sense to me. And so that's where everything got screwed up. And then uh, The Rock was trying to promise that we were getting this, we were getting this, we were getting this, and he wasn't in agreement with the studio, and he was still being vocal about all of this. And it was
Yeah.
like, dude, sit back. And you had to know at his status, he had to know there was going to be a changeover, that James Gunn was going to take over. Why didn't you just wait?
Well, I
Why didn't you
think
just
I think it was probably either rumored or in the works, but I don't think I think Black Adam was the last straw. You know what I mean?
yeah,
Like I think that was if this is successful, we could keep trying it, but if this doesn't work, we need to go in a different direction because this whole universe just isn't working. And I
yeah,
think that's kind of what they did is they decided after that came out and it completely flopped. It's like, all right, we need to close the chapter on this. I mean, they've made we talk about the mistakes and stuff that they made. The I mean, what was the Snyderverse? Snyder like literally leaked everything leading up to everything. Like there was no surprises. Like one of the big things with Marvel and the reason that the end credit scene became so big is because it would be a huge shock of what's happening next. I mean, from the original like at the end of the Hulk was the original one, right? Where you
yep.
see no, sorry, the end of Iron Man, where you see Samuel L. Jackson comes in and he recruits. It might even been the Hulk where Robert Downey Jr. comes in,
Yeah,
and
Robert
like,
Downey Jr. comes in at the Hulk and goes to Ross and says,
yes,
I
yeah,
hear you have a
exactly,
problem.
yes, yes, and says we have a problem. Like that's like that was the original. Like, oh my god, like Iron Man, like it's coming.
Iron Man.
Like that's it, and like when the Snyderverse was coming up, and first of all, they basically started with Justice League with most of these characters, which was not correct.
Yeah.
But like he leaked it on interviews, he leaked it on his social media, he would show pictures, he'd show scenes, he showed characters. There was nothing left to the movie itself. So when you got to these things, not only was the story obviously it was shortened and Whedon took over and Whedon sucks and didn't do it right and all that. There's a lot of things, but on top of that, like there was no surprises to us. There was nothing, everything we already knew going in. It's like if I know a
Yeah.
story going in, how am I supposed to stay entertained with this new story? And there's just a lot of things. I'm glad they're switching over. I can't wait to see how they do this in the Flash. And honestly, to be completely honest with you, I hope it's really successful because then if this is successful and they're able to change this universe to the next one, right, where we get the
Yeah.
new Flash because Ezra Miller is going to be out.
Yeah.
100% Ezra Miller is going to be out.
Oh yeah. Oh yeah.
Um,
Well, that's my
so
prediction at the end is that when
you
he
see the new
rewrites
Flash.
everything, he just completely changes as the actor. Like the actor is completely different. Like
Yeah,
he's
I could
just
see that too.
like
Yeah,
just
that makes sense.
completely. He runs and like looks at himself in the mirror and like is completely different. And
Different.
it's
That
just
that
like
makes sense.
I did something again wrong, but everything's pretty much back in.
Or it's a different version of the Flash. Like it's
Yeah,
different. It's
I
not
think
Barry Allen. It's someone else.
I think if they stay true to what happened, because the Flashpoint kicks off the new 52. So when
Hmm.
Barry gets back, Like he doesn't he realizes, oh, people don't know who Superman is. Hal Jordan's not his friend anymore. Diana Prince has just been making headlines as to coming over to America. Like there's a
Hmm.
lot of different, aspects of the world that's changed. And I think instead of doing that, they're going to do that for sure because
Yeah.
they have to. We're getting a new Superman, a new Batman, all of that.
Hmm. All
But
that.
I think what to really do that is the big piece that they're going to change is going to be the Flash actor.
Yeah.
And I think
That's
the
the
easiest
first
way
one
to
at
do that,
least.
yeah, and I think the way to do that is to when he gets back to the present real time that he's in, he's a completely different person.
That would make
But
sense.
his
Yeah, that would
story
make
is the
sense.
same. The story is the
Yeah.
same. It's just he's like, oh, I look
You're in a
different.
new world now, though.
Yeah, yeah.
He resets the entire
He
timeline.
raced.
That would make
Yeah,
sense. But one of the reasons I hope this is really successful is because then Marvel can take their shot at it, and like we won't get the one thing that I think that's going on with Marvel. Although Guardians of the Galaxy was obviously great, but now you
yep,
sit there and you're like, is it a good Marvel movie or was it a really good James Gunn movie? Like we don't know. But now they can kind of reset these characters like comic books. You know, if they could figure out Flash, like, oh yeah, if we do a big reset like this and it's successful, you can do that. Like then Marvel can do their big because the thing with comics that doesn't work in movies is they need resets. You
yep,
need to reset, especially in live action. Like actors are going to age out of parts. Like you
yeah,
need to do resets,
yeah. And
and
I
Marvel
think
still hasn't
that's what they
figured out
should
how to
have.
do it.
Yeah, and I think I know they wanted it because the successful run of the Infinity Gauntlet saga was
Hmm.
amazing. We grew
Yeah,
up with that. Me and you
unprecedented.
grew up with it, and it was something that we all looked forward to. We got the big three of Iron Man, Thor, and Cap, and we watched their journey, adding in characters here and there. But at the end of Endgame, there should have been a reset. They
Some
should
sort
have
of reset,
there should
or
have been even with the studio, there should have been some type of hiatus. There should have been just a break. You can put out fun content like we got Werewolves by Night was fun. You
yep.
know, get these small little things in, and then go on to this now Kang kind of saga to going in, and there.
That's a whole other thing now, right? What are they going to do with Kang? I mean, it's an easy fix with Kang, but like Jonathan Majors, he's probably not coming
But
back as Kang.
and that sucks because he was such a great Kang. Like he
Yes,
made Ant-Man for me. Like Ant-Man, he was a great Kang the Conqueror.
yeah,
Loki, he was a great,
he was so good in Loki.
so good in that. And like he needed like he as the actor and the character, they need time to develop. And so we're
Hmm.
gonna see him in Loki season 2. Like
But
he's
this is the thing with this though, that this is the most. Now Marvel does sometimes like to go in the other direction, but recently they haven't. Kang the Conqueror, and this is probably we only have a couple minutes left, so Kang the Conqueror is an easy fix because they show the Council of Kang, where you
yeah.
see all the thousands of variants. One of those variants could just be a different actor that conquers the rest of them, and now is the main villain. You know what I mean? Like it doesn't have to be someone that looks like Jonathan Majors. It could look like anyone because it could just be the variant that takes over. There's no they could go with whatever they want because obviously they can movify it and it doesn't have to be the exact one that the comics did or anything like that. I mean,
Right.
we still haven't seen Doctor Doom, and
Yeah.
like he's a huge part of what's coming up in the
We've only
comics.
gotten snippets of him. Like I got real excited because there was one scene in Moon Knight. Did you watch Moon
Yeah,
Knight?
yeah. I know what you're talking
And
about, but go
he
ahead.
wakes up in a castle and he jumps out of it and he gets into that van and he's riding, and on the boxes it says Von Doom Industries.
Yeah,
And then that was the only tease we have had about Doctor Doom. And I get it. We
well,
have to have the Fantastic Four like to do this, but like I don't know how that's not like a dude that you go right after, especially when you have Secret Wars coming up. Like,
That's what
how
I
do you
mean.
not?
He's
How
obviously
do
is a
you
huge
not?
part of Secret Wars, but the theory is when there's in Moon Knight, I think it was in Moon Knight, it has to be in Moon Knight, or it was in Miss Marvel. I don't remember which one, but they're in a cave and they're looking through they're looking for like an artifact. It might have been Miss Marvel, but I
I,
let's just say it was one of them. Let's just say it
yeah.
was one of them because I don't remember which
Okay.
one it was. But there was one the person that was like related to the story, and then there were other doctors, and one of those other whatever people searching, and one of them is supposedly the actor that's going to be Victor Von Doom, and they just didn't name him, didn't say anything, but we're going to come back and they're going to introduce Doctor Doom, and it's going to be that guy. So it's going to be one of those things that Marvel used to do back in the original, where they
Right.
put the guy on screen, but they did no mention to it, and then like 4 movies later, it comes back and that's actually XYZ. You know what I mean? And that's what they're
Yeah.
saying is that actor that was down there was looking for an artifact because he's going to become Doctor Doom, and we're going to find out soon enough that that's who that is. And I don't think it was Moon Knight though. I think Moon Knight had the boxes, and I believe it was Miss Marvel that had that. And the person finds the other
Bracelet.
thing in the
Yeah.
scene. I think it was that scene, and one of the people that was with the person that finds the bracelet is um, going to be Doctor Doom. But
Okay.
that's just the theory. That's just the
Yeah.
theory.
So yeah. So like, if we backtrack a little bit, like that's something that I'm excited for the DC universe to go through is a reset because I'm very excited for the Blue Beetle movie. I think
Yep.
that looked like so much fun. That we've already gotten high praises for that by James Gunn. He loves it. He thinks it's great. And then he's already it's come out that Andy Machete, who did the Flash, is going to do Batman Brave and the Bold, which
Mm-hmm.
I'm excited about. Is going to be an older Batman, and I hope it's an older Batman teaching Damian Wayne, who was raised as an assassin, who is his biological son. I hope that movie takes us through, does a better job of taking us through, the other Robins, Batgirls, and the other characters in the Bat family that have been there. And we're not just starting off with Damian Wayne because we already got that teaser from Zack Snyder's Batman where there was a dead Robin suit in his Batcave and we
Mm-hmm.
never found out what happened. And I hated that about that. Like, look, Robin is such a huge part of Batman's mythos. Like,
Uh-huh.
if you just kind of glance over that and say, "Oh yeah, he said," Zack Snyder said it was Dick Grayson who was killed, the first Robin, and like, and then that was it. Like,
Yeah.
and you saw little snippets of it in like Harley Quinn's like Arkham file. It said accomplice to murder to Robin, and we know the Joker kills him, and it's just like that. That to me was such a cop out with the Batman mythos. Now that we're going into this new age of DCU, we need to bring the Bat family in because they're great stories, and I'm very excited. And then we're going to get Swamp Thing and we're going to get Creature Commandos. And I'm excited for this. And so I just, like you said, I hope The Flash is successful and that since it's successful, James Gunn is more comfortable of greenlighting some of the ideas that he has. Because I feel like in the past, DC has set out a movie and then after that movie is not successful, all these other movies that were in development get the axe and we
Yep.
miss everything. And so I just wanted to go forward.
Oh, you'll definitely stay tuned to like Schnabel Studios and stay tuned to Sketching Up on your podcast because you will hear from us this week about the Flash,
Yep.
and we'll give you all of our thoughts on that, and we'll give you everything for that. I'm sure we're going to come in with some steaming opinions and we'll spoil everything. So if you're going to listen, make sure you see the movie first, just like
Yeah.
everything
Oh
we
yeah.
do.
I'm
But
gonna
that
go
comes out
off,
this week. That
guys.
comes
I'm
out
gonna
this
go off.
week.
I'm going off. I'm going
It's
off.
coming out.
I'm not holding anything back.
As you shouldn't. As you
Yeah.
shouldn't. Listen, when
No.
when Mario came out, I talked for like 55 straight minutes. So like, you should go off as much as you want. I'll say
It's my
two more
turn.
things. One. As long as Peacemaker stays, I'm cool with it because I love
Thank you.
Peacemaker. As long as Peacemaker stays, I'm good with it. And two, I don't remember what 2 was, so we'll just stick with 1. Hope Peacemaker stays, because that is my guy. That's my guy. But this has been episode 82 of Sketching Up. Thank you guys for listening. You can follow us on Instagram, Facebook, Twitter, TikTok, YouTube, LinkedIn, wherever you get social media. You can follow us, Schnabel Studios. You can see clips. You can see different things. 2 weeks ago was the 7-year anniversary of the premiere of Offstage, which is just nuts. It's almost 10 years old. Crazy to think about. You can see all that type of stuff. You can also listen to old episodes. Last week we talked about Spider-Man Across the Spider-Verse. You can hear all of our thoughts on that. It was an unbelievable movie. So if you haven't seen it already, you're out of your mind. Definitely go see that. And yeah, I don't know what you're doing if you haven't seen that. You also listen to other things on the Schnabel Studios pages, like Mad Props. Have a couple new episodes that have come out this month. Offstage Podcast, which is going to have new episodes coming out soon. Apparently Southern Hospitality is going to be coming out soon. That's what I've heard from Kyle. He's recording. Let's see when that comes out. But you can just search Schnabel Studios and you'll find all that stuff wherever you get your podcasts or on YouTube. For Chris and Matt, this has been Sketching Up. We will see you next time. Thank you guys for joining us. Peace out. See you next week.
Peace out.